Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to thank you for joining our SharePoint 2010 overview webinar. My name is Donna, and you will be spending the next couple of hours with me. So I'd like to welcome you to our CTC Train Canada webinar. And we're just going to go through the slides first, just to kind of have an idea of how this whole process works. Okay, so just to give you a little background about myself, again, my name's Donna, and I have been a trainer for many years, but I'm also work full-time in SharePoint and many Microsoft applications. I've been a programmer, and I've seen projects right from the beginning to the end. A lot of experience with SharePoint from the very beginning when it first started. And what's interesting is I'm a geek, but I'm a girl, so I'm a geekette. And how it works back in the day is you had to program everything. Today's SharePoint 2010 and even the above versions of SharePoint, it's so user-friendly that you don't have to be a geekette or a geek or a nerd to actually have to create any of these pieces from scratch. The problem is the way to maneuver through the site, and often that can be very overwhelming. So I'm hoping that I can break down some of those barriers for you. Okay, so I've seen that some people are having some testing and some hearing issues. Just letting you know that they do have a technical team on site, so I will be answering those. They're going to be taking care of that for me. So this here is just a basic SharePoint team site, and this is a default. You see these people here, they've existed since 2003, and gosh, they sure look good for being here for 10 years. So this is just a basic default. If I've set up and I create a SharePoint site, but I allocate it and say, well, I'd like to have a team site, this is what I get. So there's different areas that are here, and honestly, when you're at your office, it depends on the user permissions that your company has allotted to you and what you're able to see and what you can't see. So often when you take a course or you work with somebody that works with this, like I live and breathe SharePoint, it's amazing that they don't realize that they just don't have the actual proper access to do some of the things they want to do. And so this area here is called the Quick Launch Bar, and then you have the top link bar where my mouse is. You've got a search, and the search feature is just wonderful. And depending on the level of, like if you have SharePoint Enterprise, or you have SharePoint Web, and even in SharePoint Foundation, which is the free version, you have search, but you have more search capabilities in the higher versions. So you have three best friends that are here right now, and your very first best friend is Site Actions. And Site Actions, whenever you kind of need to do anything, it's always going to have something that's here. The second best friend is Site Settings. And when you touch Site Settings, and again, depending on your user permissions, you'll be able to see all of this, or probably just a little bit, depending on what your company has given you for your permissions. So you can see from mine, I have quite a lot of permissions. And most often, you would not have the Site Collection Administration or the Site Administration because you could bring a whole company down, and that's not pretty cool. So they always kind of say, okay, what's this department need? Let me figure this out. Here's the templates, and so on and so forth. So this is just to give you a little background. So again, Site Actions, your first best friend. Site Settings, your second best friend. And when things go awry and you just can't find anything, you know you created it, you know it's there, but you just don't see it, then your third best friend is All Site Content. And All Site Content will actually go in Microsoft's version of their group, so document libraries, picture libraries, and so on, but it'll show you everything that's currently available in your SharePoint site. So we're going to go right back to the beginning. Now, remember, there's always three ways to do the same thing in many of Microsoft's products, and that also applies here. So if I want to get back to the main page that I started off, there's this Navigate Up button. That if I touch it, I can navigate from where I am and go back to the main page, or I could simply hit the Home button, or I could even, because it's a browser, I can just hit the back button and go back to where I was before. And that's something that everyone has to kind of remember. They forget that they're not really in an application. When you open up Microsoft Word and you do something with Microsoft Word, and you're in an actual separate application. This one, you're in a SharePoint application, but it is utilizing a browser. And the browser doesn't necessarily have to be IE. It doesn't have to be, it could be Mozilla, it could be Chrome, and many others. So that's really cool about Microsoft now, the Microsoft SharePoint, is you're not allocated to just using one kind of browser. And the nice thing as well is for 2010, it's just wonderful how the other browsers will display your SharePoint site. You won't have any differences, which is very important. So underneath the covers of everything that is the essence of SharePoint, it is this wonderful language that, of course, if you're not, a geek or anything, it's kind of like, oh, okay. It's called XML. And XML is really just a wonderful way to exchange data with systems that are not the same as yours. So if you're a Java environment, it doesn't matter. You can still exchange information. If you're a Linux, or it doesn't matter. And that's what the cool thing is with SharePoint as well. So the SharePoint, although it is a Microsoft product, it can be enabled on different browsers. Okay, so we can also hit, they call this area the breadcrumbs, so you can hit the training site as well, and then you come right back to the main page. Now, this here, this is just a team site, and again, like I said, it's just the default look and feel. You say, you know what, Donna, I don't really like these people, you know, they still look good for 10 years, I think they should change. So we can change them, and there's many ways that you can change them. There's proper ways to change them, and then there's not so proper ways to change them, so it's really up to you. Okay, so let's break this down. So again, the area that we have here, quick launch bar, you have the top link bar, and then this is your main area where you can have information. Now, up here you have your site actions, you have your navigate up, you have your edit page, and then you also have this contextual tab that's called page. If I select the contextual page, I can come in here and it says, oh, would you like to edit the page? Well, I could also have selected this to edit the page. Would you like to check out the page? Which really means if I check it out, it's like when you used to go to the library in the olden days. Now you do everything online. And the olden days could have been a year ago. The funny thing is, when you checked it out, no one else could have that library book. It's the same thing with SharePoint. You check this page out, no one else can be working on it simultaneously. You work on it, and other people will see that they can't make any changes to it. Now, what this is, so this was a contextual tab. And then just like all of the other Office products from 2007 and up, they have what's called the ribbon menu. And these are the various groups that Microsoft has chosen, and then they put different things available into these groups. So for the page, for example, you have the edit group, you have the manage group, you have the share and track group, the page actions group, and the page library. And I could go on and on depending on what we're going to do. Now I just want to simply edit. If I click this icon here, it's automatically going to just edit. And you can see now it's in edit mode, and wow, these two really other cool contextual tabs have opened, and there's some really neat things I can do. So if there's anything that has to do with text, then the Format Text contextual tab opens up and says, hey, Donna, we've got edit for you, we've got a clipboard, oh, you don't like this font? Maybe, you know, you're not into a Verdana mood. Maybe you want calibri. So you come down, you can go look for it, or you can even just start typing and say, well, I want, you know, calibri. And then you can decide if you want, you know, what kind of size font, and you can see that it's changing as I go. So it's quite effective on how you want something. Now, the other thing that I want to show you as well is notice that when I edited the page, they have these little blue lines. And this means these are all actual individual web parts. And a lot of people think a web part is a piece of programming and all sorts of other cool stuff. And, you know, in fact it is, but the cool thing is now you don't need a programmer to do this. Anybody can do this. And you don't have to see underneath the cover. So you are actually, without realizing it, you are programming. So when you say anything like did you see what I did? I just simply went and highlighted the text, and I just started to, you know, type. And right away it's using a font. It says Verdana at 8 points if you look above at the Format Text tab. And I could say, you know, there was a little girl, we had a little girl, and so on. I can write all sorts of text in here as much as I want to. Okay, so now I have this, and just like a Microsoft Office product, I could come here, I could bold just this one little word. I could say, oh, you know, the word who, I'd like to give it a color. Ah, you know what, there's these theme colors, there's standard colors. Maybe I want to see the 216 web safe colors, but I don't want to have to go to Adobe or anything. Well, not to worry. I can actually come in here and I can get the more colors. And I see the 216 web safe colors. And if I'm really geeky and I've memorized all the hexadecimal values, I can come in and say, woohoo, I think it's this. Or, like, I'll pick my favorite shade, which is purple. And then I can say, okay, and there you go. And there it's it has a different color. You can also get rid of this. You could say, you know what, I don't really want this part here, so maybe I'm going to delete this. So the shared documents, if I touch this, there is an area where I can just simply say delete, and then it's deleted. I could also, if I want, I could select this, and I could look, notice my mouse, everyone. So now I have the cursor, I have this little kind of crossbar, and then I have a little hand. Now, if I take the hand and I come over here, did you see that? It just moved. So I'm going to say, oh, no, I made a mistake. I need to Control Z. Now, in Microsoft Office, on all of their products, you can do Control Z. You can't do that in SharePoint. But I can go and hit the word undo that's up here. And this is where some of the frustration works with some of our users and some of our clients that hire us to come over there. Now, interestingly enough, when I did that, you should notice up in the ribbon menu, some other really cool stuff just happened. These other contextual tabs just opened. So a contextual tab said, hey, Donna, do you have something to do with library tools or web part tools? We're here to help you. So that's what these guys do. Now watch, if I come up here and I click, did you notice? They're gone. If I come back in here, ooh, they've come back. So that's kind of cool. But again, remember, we only have an hour and a half really just for me to kind of show you and get you really excited about this product. And then we have some questions. There's just so much. And I always tell all my clients, 15 minutes a day, 30 days in a row, you can become a subject matter expert on the things you need to do in the product that you're working with. And I really do believe that. So there's some stuff quickly just showing you how to navigate. Now once, like here, you know, if I don't like these people, I can get rid of them. I could go to my browser. I could go and look for something else if I wanted to. Hopefully this will connect. I'm virtual, so just give it a sec. Or you know what, I'll just close this and I'll go back to my training site. But here's the picture. If I don't want the picture, I can just press delete. I could come into here, but I could go and get another picture. But look what happened. When I selected the picture, look up here. Another contextual tab has opened up. So this contextual tab says, hey, Donna, this page is actually located, this picture is located in this location. So the location is _layouts /images homepage, and they called it homepage sample photo.jpg. Now, if I know that there's something else that I want, and I know where it's located, I could have just dumped the address there. And the alternative text is just like a web page. So when somebody puts their mouse over it, then they'll see something. I could also change this image if I wanted to. So you'll see the change picture here. I could say, you know what, I want to look for a different picture from the computer, or maybe I want to tell the full address. In my experience, the best way to handle pictures that you want to bring in is to create a picture library. I'm a subject matter expert for the job that I do full time, and it's very important. I do a lot of best practice. I travel all over the world to ensure that best practices are adhered to various different pieces of software that people are using. And one of the biggest challenges I find when I come and help clients that have already created SharePoint sites is they haven't actually put things in the right areas. And so I show them how to do that. And that's one of the things are the libraries. So these are Microsoft's way of categorizing different things that they house. And libraries, they have one that's called the Picture Library, and it's really geared just to housing these pictures. And we can do some really cool stuff with those pictures, and I'll show you that in a moment. The next thing we can do about the images, I can change the style. So here's the image styles. Right now it has no border. We can give it a thin line border. We can give it a table border. We can give it a dark border. We can give it a light border, or we can just go back and say no border. You can also change the image. You can say, I like it floating to the left. Maybe today, tomorrow you want it to the right, and so on. And if you know the pixels, you could say, you know what, I think I'm going to make it smaller. So you could type it in, or look at this, Microsoft makes it so you don't have to go into another graphic software and change the image. So look at this, look how hard this is. Oh, Lord, I'm just suffering here. And see, the people, unfortunately, they still look good. They do not change at all. So the other thing, too, is because it's lock aspect ratio. But I could have also touched this. I could have easily just done that. Look at that. So, again, remember, there's 3 ways to do exactly the same thing in Microsoft. And as you get really strong in the product, you'll find the best way that suits your needs. Now, notice that my mouse kind of went somewhere else. So I'm here, and a new contextual tab is opened up called Editing Tools. So again, I've got the Format Text, And just like, I'm not sure how many people out there use styles within the Microsoft Office products, but you have these styles available to you as well. Also, you're looking at the text layout. Maybe you don't want the layout like this. You want a different kind of layout. So you can definitely do that. You can change it to one column. You can change it to one column with a sidebar. So if I select this, here we go. If I change the 2 columns, you see everything's going to move. If I change it to, let's say, the 2 columns of the header and footer, now I have something blank. So I can come in here and I can type something saying this is my header. I'm going to put it at 24. I'll put it at 48. Oh, say 36. And I'll say, welcome to headers. Okay? So you see right away, and I can call this as gray. So I can look at the colors and I say, I don't want gray. And I'll take blue. Blue means trust on the web, so we'll take that. Ooh, that's really blue. So it really just depends on what it is that you want to do. We could center that. And so no different than when you're using other products. So that's just a little bit about the editing a page. There's also lots of stuff. If you're very good at HTML, you can actually modify the HTML content. You can do it in SharePoint Designer. You can do it right here as well. And then there's markup styles as well. So if you know what, like here is a colored heading 3, heading 4. So very similar to what we have in the other products. So it's kind of neat. And I can also just get rid of this. And again, I can go back to my text layer and say, you know what, I'm just going to go back to where I was. And once I'm finished, there's different ways of saving this. I can save and close, or if I don't want to save and close, I could also touch this, which is save and close, or I could do the arrow down and just say save and keep editing. That means, because if I save and close, watch this. So see, it's saved and closed. I can't do anything. There's no editing that I can do anymore. That's not very exciting. Maybe I'm one of these anal retentive people and I need to save as I go for fear that something's going to go wrong. And that's how I am. I'm always a pessimist, a what-if scenario kind of person. So here we go. So again, I can come back in here, edit the page. Maybe I make a change, say, so now I want to make a change. Instead, not the icon, but the little arrows that are underneath, I can simply say save and keep editing. Therefore, it saves the last thing that I just did, and I can go and continue making changes. So those are some really cool things that I really love about SharePoint. Okay? So this time I'm going to save and close, but I'm going to pretend that I forget that I'm supposed to do things the right way because, you know, we're all very quick. I'm always going very fast, and sometimes I'm like, oh, wait a minute, did I do this? And I'm like, uh-oh. So what I can do is if I go and touch something else, watch what Microsoft's going to do for me. It says, hey, look what you've done. To save your changes, you got to click OK. If you don't want to save, then click Cancel. So again, so I'm going to just say Cancel. So it says press OK to continue or cancel to stay on the current page. Always read, because sometimes they like to keep your mind going. So they'll be like, wait a minute, in Office, it says to do this. Microsoft Word. But SharePoint, they want to be a little more unique, keep you on your toes, keep you awake. So always see this. Also, they'll often give you security warnings, and they'll even give you a security warning against itself, which I find just hilarious. Okay, so I'm going to say cancel to stay on the current page, and I'm just going to go up and let's just save and close it. There we go. So that's just a quick overview of how, you know, you quickly want to, if you want to make some changes to this page. You can also add a page. I didn't show you that, but when you add a page, those are referred to as wiki pages, and they're very easy to use as well. Okay, next thing we have, we've got different groups. So for libraries, again, there's so many pieces to this product. It's just amazing. Again, there's the edit page. Sync to SharePoint Workspace. What this means is that perhaps I'm going to be going offline and I need to keep working on the things that I have, but I want to work from it to my local system. I don't want to have to go online. That's what you were essentially doing. When you're working with SharePoint, it has a URL address, a Uniform Resource Locator. And this address is set up by your network teams or whoever set up SharePoint for your organization, for yourself. And these URLs are unique, and they can also be customized to be accessed outside of your business. But of course, it's like anything. You can't just log in at work when you're at home. you have to go in through some kind of security channel in order to let them know that it's truly you, and then you can get access to your work. So it's the same with SharePoint. Just because there's a URL that says http:// and whatever up there, you can't just go and hope for the best that you'll get that when you're outside of your location. So that hive, and that's what the SharePoint was once called, was like a hive. It's always stored wherever it's been set up. So you can have different kinds of hosting for SharePoint as well. So there's SharePoint Foundation, where your company would go and buy and have all the software and all the hardware they would need to support the foundation, and for how many users are going to use it, and for memory and different things. But Microsoft now provides web as well. So you could have SharePoint through the web. As you know, you've heard the cloud and how exciting the cloud is. So they call it the cloud. Really, it's no different than you going somewhere else, like on Amazon. Maybe you're in the cloud, maybe you're not. You go on Amazon, you're not there. There's not a guy sitting on the other side going, I really hope they buy the book that's right beside me. You're perusing. You're going through the website. You're going through looking what they have. It's hitting databases back and forth. You don't care. You just want to find the item and do they have it. Without realizing it, you've gone through many servers. You went all over the world. You have no idea and you don't care. Well, that's the same thing here. It's irrelevant how it's stored. It's up to you to know where it's stored and how to get access to your SharePoint site. Okay, so that was a long topic, so I want to just say, now the other thing I find interesting is Microsoft also wants to make it kind of a social, collaborative, just like Facebook, where you can go on and say, I like it. Well, you can also tell them, I like this too. Now, the problem is, no one will see that you liked it unless they go to your personal profile and see what you like. And tags and notes, no different than making little comments, and maybe having links. Maybe you have so many things on the SharePoint site you have to look at, and you just can't remember how to constantly find it. You can just touch a tag, a note, and you can tag it. So, like, I'm going to tag this, and I'll come and say, hello, my name is Donna, and I live and breathe SharePoint 2010, and 2013. And then I could say, you know what? I'm a little bit of a private person. I don't want anybody to see anything. And then I say, no, you know what? I don't care. I want everyone to see it. So I'll say save. Now, again, this tag is done. Now, look what it's done. I saved it, but yet it's still looking at me. And that's something about SharePoint. In order, it doesn't say, okay, we're good. You'd actually have to close this out. Now, see, there's nowhere that tag is located. It's actually located on the far right section, if that's where your network administrator put your personal stuff. And you have your own site, if your network administration or SharePoint administration has allowed for you to have a personal homepage. It's in your profile. And when someone visits your profile, they'll say, wow, Donna liked this. Now, whether they care or not, that's another story. But there you go. Okay, so let's go back to libraries. There are so many different kinds of libraries that we can make. Again, we can create libraries through, like, 3 times. My name is Donna, and I live and breathe SharePoint 2010, and 2013. And then I could say, you know what? I'm a little bit of a private person. I don't want anybody to see anything. And then I say, no, you know what? I don't care. I want everyone to see it. So I'll say save. Now, again, this tag is done. Now, look what it's done. I saved it, but yet it's still looking at me. And that's something about SharePoint. In order, it doesn't say, okay, we're good. You'd actually have to close this out. Now, see, there's nowhere that tag is located. It's actually located on the far right section, if that's where your network administrator put your personal stuff. And you have your own site, if your network administration or SharePoint administration has allowed for you to have a personal homepage. It's in your profile. And when someone visits your profile, they'll say, wow, Donna liked this. Now, whether they care or not, that's another story. But there you go. Okay, so let's go back to libraries. There are so many different kinds of libraries that we can make. Again, we can create libraries through, like, 3 times, 3 different ways to do the same thing. I can select the word libraries, and I can create, and then it's going to bring me up to this nice, Silverlight application that it created. So it's nice and visual. The human brain takes less than 5 seconds to maintain anything or keep excited about a web page. So this is great. And they're showing me all types. I want to filter. So I touch the word library. Wow, look at this. Depending on the application that you have, Foundation, Enterprise, or Web, they can vary. So I have an asset library, data connection library, I have a document library, I have a form, the picture library. Look how wonderful this is. So if I want to create a library, I can select any of these. If I don't know what I'm doing, don't panic. Go and look over here. See this? Report library. It's a place where you can easily create and manage web pages and documents to track metrics. Oh, I don't want that one. Picture library. Place, upload, and share pictures. Done. All right. So I'm going to call mine the Camaro because I love muscle cars. Maybe we'll call it muscle cars. All right. Cool. Or we call it Walking Dead or anything like that. All right. Now, because you're newbies, you don't want to just get excited and press create. Instead, we're going to put more options so we can understand what more capabilities or what are the other capabilities that we can see. We have a question, but I'm going to wait till after to answer it, okay? All right, so muscle cars, so I have the more options, which is the right way to do it when you're new. And now it says muscle cars, do you want a description? And you can just say, created November 2013 by, okay? And then this is very interesting, and this is where I love stuff like this. So we're going to mess around with this in a little bit. And specify whether the link to this picture should appear in the quick launch bar. So that's this area here. Or maybe not. Maybe get people guessing. They have to find it. They have to come out and say, where are you? Help me, where to go? So there's all sorts of weird ways we can do stuff. Also, you can say, do you want versions for all these pictures? We're going to just leave everything as it is right now, but I'm going to show you later when you accidentally say no, and then you start to freak out, and where is everything? And then you're like, aha, and then share it with nobody. Keep it to yourself so that they always have to come to you. You become the subject matter expert. So now I say create. So now I'm creating this, and so what it's done, I still have my training site. Remember, there's 3 ways to get this in place. So I'm going to go up to training site this way through the breadcrumbs, but look at there's now a new menu called pictures, and I have muscle cars. If I go to muscle cars, there's nothing there. Well, there's nothing there because I haven't uploaded anything. So you have new, where you can have a folder. Now, just a little tidbit, all of these use URIs, Uniform Resource Indicators. They look like URLs. You can't have folders within folders within folders. It is a bad and naughty practice. You can have one folder. It's a hierarchical thing, but only at one level. I don't know if that makes sense to you. You can ask me about it after. But don't get excited about having lots of folders. One of the things I teach in all my classes is how to properly maintain their site. And the searches don't work for folders within folders within folders. You know the information is there, but SharePoint says, sorry, buddy, this is too much. Imagine this address. This is the address for this location. But then you're going to have a picture. So let's just give you an idea of what I'm talking about. So I'm going to upload. I'm hoping there's a picture. If there's not, this will be interesting. So I'm going to browse, see where it brings me. And, okay, there's pictures. Hopefully there's a little koala bar. No, of course not. That'd be too easy. Okay, so let's see if there's any public pictures. No, of course not. Okay, so let's see what we can do. Maybe we can find one that's quickly not going to take up too much time. Let's see, google.ca, images, and it's just going to be slow because we're virtual, so not to worry. Okay. So in the meantime, while I'm waiting, I'm hoping that I'm saying Eunice properly. If I'm not, please correct me. But Eunice Brown has a question. It says, is this an on-premise SharePoint or the same access feature in the Office 365 environment? Now, so the Office 365 kind of gives you that mini feeling that you have a full SharePoint, but it's, we're not going to be going anywhere. All right, so no pictures for us. That's not going to be very fun. So we can imagine that there would be a picture there, and I was going to show you something, but we can't, so I won't. This is not an on-premise SharePoint site. This is determined. This is actually a virtual site that's created by Microsoft for anybody to view the Composa website. But you can actually create any type of SharePoint site that you wish. This is a default team site. Okay. All right. So we can't upload a picture. I can't show you what was kind of cool. So I'm going to do something else instead. So if I had a picture that I could have uploaded, then I would have put something there, but I don't, so that's okay. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to make it, so I've actually misplaced this muscle cars. Maybe I shouldn't have called this muscle cars. So I might have to change this, but how do I do that? Gosh, I'm not sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm in muscle cars, but notice that there is no ribbon for a picture library. That is on purpose. All the menu items are right here. I can upload a picture. I can upload a multiple picture. I can have some actions, and I can have settings. So I'm going to go back to the training site, and I'm going to make some changes. And, okay, that's interesting. And I'm sure the other one's going to go in a second. Okay, there we go. So for the settings, we have create column, create view. Don't even worry about this for now. But I want to show you something. Picture library settings. I can delete this picture. Now, delete's an interesting word. When you tell someone not to delete, they just can't help themselves. Like, oh, I got to delete now. So you always want to know where you are. And that's why this breadcrumb is very important. It says, hey, this is where you are. You're in the main site that's called training site. You're in muscle cars, and this is where you are. So if I delete this, I'm deleting just this. I'm not deleting the site as a whole. The other thing I can do is I can actually change. I said, I shouldn't have called it muscle cars. I should have called it, company logos or something. Well, I can't just change it through here. I can't edit the page and hope to go there. I have to go through the settings, and then I get this title, description, and navigation. So I could say, company logos. And then I'm going to pretend that I forgot that it should have been on the quick launch bar. So I'm going to save it. Oh, no, it's gone. What are we going to do? I don't know what to do. Now, if I refresh this little guy will actually disappear. But I don't want you to think it's lost forever. So now remember, I said you had 3 best friends. The first was Site Actions. It houses all sorts of things you can do. Then there was Site Settings. But Site Settings has to deal with the training site as a whole, not an individual library or list. And then I said the other way was the All Site Content. That was your 3rd best friend. So let's go and say I need to know if this library existed. I go to All Site Content, and I'm like, oh, look at that. Picture libraries, company logos. So I can actually get whatever I thought was there that I did that doesn't show up. I can hit the company logos. It does, in fact, exist. And then I remember Donna told me that I got to go to settings. I got to go to picture library settings. Notice it's all about the picture. And then come back here and say display it on the quick launch. So once I say yes and save, notice it has returned. How cool is that? That's cool. Now, there's a lot of things. Again, we're already 34 minutes in, but there's so many cool things that you can do with this library. So we're going to move away from pictures, and we're going to do something else. But I want to show you something that's even cooler. I'm going to go back to the training site, because one of the things that a lot of my clients ask, they say, I hate these words, pictures, libraries, lists, discussions. We want it to be formal with our business. Can we do that? I say, absolutely. And they're like, well, we look online and we can't find it. I said, oh, that's because we don't want to tell you. Frustration is a wonderful thing. Not really. I'm just teasing you. So the way to do that, I'm going to show you, little secrets you don't need to share with other people. Make them always have to come to you. I always love the Terminator movies. I love cheese movies, and it's always, letting the machines take over was pretty well the key of the Terminator movies. Don't let the machines take over, but also don't tell all your secrets. So here we go. We don't need SharePoint to do everything for us. We can figure stuff out. So I am now going to go into Site Actions. I'm going to go into Site Settings. And this time, we're going to play with the quick launch bar. Now watch this. This is awesome. So you have the look and feel area. Now again, depending on the user permissions that have been assigned to you, you might not have these options. But also, whoever supports your SharePoint might not realize that you need these options. And that's why training is always awesome, because when you get into training and you have somebody that's like me, I live and breathe this stuff, you're like, oh, I didn't know this exists. I think our network team doesn't know this as well. We do screenshots, we give them information. You can actually converse properly with your network team. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to go to the quick launch bar. Now, that's going to affect this area here. So let's go to the quick launch bar. So right now, and a lot of this stuff you can't find, you're not sure what you're looking for, so you don't find it. So we can change the order. We say, you know what, I want my libraries on the very first selection and different things like that. So you can select change order, and look how difficult this is going to be. So I'll say pictures should be last. I go 4, and then everything just kind of moves down. I can say, you know what, discussion should be second or whatever. It doesn't matter. So now I'm going to say OK. So that's as exciting as that gets. Now, the next thing I have, I might not like these names. I want them to be significant to the company I work with. So a lot of people don't realize this, but this means to edit. And notice the tooltip, you didn't see one because, again, they like to keep your brain going. So here we go. Watch this. So I'm going to touch this little icon and look at this. So I can come in here for libraries, and I can say CPC libraries. Okay. I could come in here for lists. I could even get rid of the word list and just say things that are cool. Okay, and say okay. So now you see I'm changing the titles. Notice this? So that's pretty neat. Now something else I can also do is maybe I want to have some headings, something that's unique to our company, and I don't want to have to create a library. So I can do that. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to say new heading, and I don't have a web address. It doesn't exist. I just want people to see it as a heading, but because it's web-based, you need to put something there. It's not going to allow it to not have anything there. So without you realizing it, you put a little dot, which in my world means current node. So now I'm going to just say type the description. I'm going to just say about Donna, okay? Or I'm going to say about my favorite graphic novel, and the show's good, but the graphic novels are better. I say about Walking Dead. But in case that gets people in a ride, they're like, oh God, I can't handle zombies, no worries. We'll say about Thor. So here we go. So now I say okay. Now, you see I have something that's here for a link, but if I touch it, because I use the dot, because that area needed something, I'm going to press about Thor, and I just get to the home page. But I can put some cool stuff under about Thor. So I can go back here to about Thor if I want, but I have to go the long way. Site settings, which has to do with the site, quick launch, under the look and feel, and then with about Thor, I can create a new navigation link and I can place it under Thor if I choose to. But these are just some of the things I can do. Another thing I can also do, everyone, I can get rid of this, delete. Hasta la vista. There it is, gone. How cool is that? So if you create a new navigation link, this is something that's really helpful if you have tons of documents, but you want your users to get to them quickly without having to look at all the million libraries that are created. You could do that too. So, you know, like for example, for HR. So I'm going to create a new heading, and I'm going to put a dot, and then I'm going to say the description is called HR, and I'm going to say OK. I could put all the processes here without having to create a library, or maybe there is a library that has everything. But I put a quick link to something. Maybe I know everyone wants to take vacation, or perhaps, you know, the lottery gets won, they're going to retire suddenly. I can put all of those documents right here if I know where the link is. So I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to go to Shared Documents. I'm just going to steal this URL for a moment, and I can copy it. I can do right mouse and copy. I could do Control-C like Kitty Cat goes cat, so Control-C, and I can do a paste. So now, when I'm in HR, I still don't get anything. I have to go back the long way, and this is what gets people like, oh gosh, there's so many things to do. But at the end of the day, you get everything done. Okay, so now this is what I have. So I have HR, and I'm going to create a new navigation link. There it has HTTP. I'm going to put the link that I have, and it doesn't really exist. This isn't really true. It has something, and I'll say vacation documents, okay, or vacation leave. And then look, it says, well, where do you want this guy to go? Do you want him under libraries? Do you want him under things that are cool? Do you want this? I'm going to say I want it there. So now I say okay. So now I'm going to go back here, but look, everyone, there's my heading. Touch the heading. Oh, I'm here. Vacation docs. Where am I going for that? Ooh, very cool. So there's lots of really neat things that you can do. It's just amazing. And I mean, I could be talking to you for this like 24 hours. This would be great. You know, a little drink here and we just keep talking about all that stuff. It is just amazing the power that SharePoint has. So let's just take a look quickly. Let's see where we're at, 10:41. So the new page is just a web page, like I said before. It's like a wiki page. We have new document libraries, and we have new sites. So you can also edit in SharePoint Designer. Now, most companies that go on site to help, their network teams have not allowed for this feature to be on. you won't have access to this, which is called the central administration, which really is the SharePoint goddess. And I say goddess because I'm a girl. So that is so, like, there's so many things that we can do here that you won't be able to do. And they're not going to say, oh, yeah, sure, go ahead, Bernard, take it and just do whatever you like. They're not going to do that. Life's not that nice. So there's different things that you can do. There's the monitoring, that's not really you that does that. That's your network team. They want to monitor the health, how much memory's left, if people have been naughty. Maybe not really, don't check that, I'm just teasing. There's security, there's configure, send, manage form, all sorts of different things. There's really a lot of things that are going on in here, but there's also lots of stuff. So they can disable your SharePoint Designer from in here, and when it's disabled, you don't have access to SharePoint Designer, which is really frustrating because it's free. And SharePoint Designer is kind of like front page, but with all the bad bits left behind. And I don't know if anyone had any horror stories with front page. I certainly did. But it's really, in case, like, you can make all the changes you want right here in your SharePoint. Right from here, you don't need to go to SharePoint Designer. But some people are just more comfortable using separate IDE. So they prefer that, like Dreamweaver, all those other products that are out there. So I don't personally think you need to use SharePoint Designer, but it's a great thing if it's something that's easier for you because you can make all the changes here. Now, let's go into our libraries, and I just want to show you again. So remember, I changed, this used to be called lists. Now it's called things that are cool, and I can actually go back and change that so it doesn't frustrate you. Let me just go back, things that are cool, and I'm just going to call this CTC list, and then say, okay. All right. Now, libraries, as I already showed you before, they cover certain things. So if I want to create something from scratch, I can go through here and look, always create, which is going to bring me to this screen where I can filter and say, well, I want to create some kind of library. Oh, I want to create some kind of list, and so on. I can also come under Site Actions, and I can say, not new site, but more options. It opens exactly the same screen. I can also go to All Site Content, and guess what? It opens exactly the same screen. So again, like I said before, there's 3 ways always to do the same thing. Now, more options is just that. So here we go. So the library, these are the different kinds of libraries that you can create. If you have forms, specifically forms that you need filled out and you need to analyze or capture that data, then you want to create a library that's geared specifically to that kind of whatever it's housing. So form, if you touch the form, you'll see that it manages your business forms like status reports or purchase orders, form libraries. It needs a compatible XML editor such as Microsoft InfoPath. In English, it needs Microsoft InfoPath. I'm just letting you know that. So everything's XML-based. If you have InfoPath, it's a great way to have your forms. Adobe and Microsoft, you have to remember, they are not, friendly together. They're competitors. So Adobe uses Adobe Acrobat. They have a lifecycle designer for forms development and so on. You can definitely place Adobe forms. That's the beauty about this Microsoft SharePoint. Any type of file outside of Microsoft can still be stored in Microsoft SharePoint. Now, the person would see a form and open and use it, but you can have something specific that maybe when they open up the form, it's an InfoPath form and it does something, it goes in this library, it sends something off to Donna, it sends something off to Alex, and so on and so forth. Okay, let's look at the lists. Lists, here we go. Look at all the stuff we can do. We can create an announcement. Announcements could be, Christmas is coming upon us, so that we're announcing the Christmas party on staff pages. United Way campaigns are full force right now. They can have something where the announcement is we're now at 82% of our goal. And then we have the calendar. The calendar is wonderful. This calendar can actually work with your Outlook calendar that you have that's in your system. So you can share this calendar, and whoever's on your permissions list, you can see their calendars just like when you use Microsoft Outlook. Pretty cool. There's so many things here. Like, again, we're at 10:46, so I'm not 10:46, we're 46 minutes into it. And so I want to make sure I don't go nuts. Here we go. So there's just so many things. I just want to show you. Now, pages, you can create a web cart page. which is similarly like when I just showed you when I edit the page and I changed whether I wanted 2 columns or a view or different things, you can create it this way as well. And you can just create a standard page, and then you can edit it effectively any way you like. The sites, these are the different kinds of sites, and this can get overwhelming at times as well. So depending on what it is that you're exchanging with your users, you want to get the right site. Now, often, by default, everyone chooses the theme site, and then they just modify it. But look at this. They have a woohoo, a social meeting service, social meeting workspace. You can plan all sorts of stuff. So let's do that. We'll say Christmas 2013, and then the URL name. Now, the URL name is exactly that. A lot of people want to type all of this in, but you don't. You're just going to give it a name. You can give it any name you want, okay? I'm going to call it Donna, okay? I could say little Donna, capital O, little n, capital N, little a. It doesn't matter. I could call it Game of Thrones. It doesn't matter. This is all internal. And then I can look at more options. So this is just my little, I'm going to just say Christmas, and I'm going to say 2013. Now, again, because we're new, don't hit create. You're going to want to, but don't do it. So we're going to go to more options, and we're just going to look what we have. It says, okay, well, when someone types this in, this is what the URL is. Great. Do you want to take on the same permissions that are for the entire site, or do you want to give it your own permissions? We'll leave it as it is. So now I just say create. And I just want to show you the difference of look. So look at the look and feel for a social compared to your training site. Now, before I do anything, I'm just going to capture this URL for a sec. And now I'm going to go back to my home site, okay? And I'm going to hit home. And, oh, look at that, everybody. I'm home, but I'm not where I think I should be. What is wrong with this picture? So then I can come to my Navigate up and say, well, this is odd. I need to get back here. And there, look at the top link bar. The new sites are created up here. So the person can get here, but then something happened that it didn't let me navigate. And that, again, everyone, has to be picked from the site settings. So not the site settings. In this case, this would be site settings, but not site settings overall for team sites. It would be the site settings only for Christmas 2013. You see? So then you've got your look and feel. You've got all sorts of cool things that you can do. So that's also interesting because a lot of things go a little strange sometimes and people don't understand. So you have the Christmas site. I could also have created a link if I wanted. And also, again, it's a web browser, so you can also go back. But I could create a link here. I could tell it I don't want this here if I don't want to. So I can grab the site settings, and then I can come and look at this. And there's the top link bar. And now I can see that the only thing I have here, there's the home. Do you see that, everyone? And I say, aha, that's what he's doing. I don't like that. So I'm going to cancel out of there. I'm going to navigate up, and I'm going to just grab this URL. I'm going to go back to Christmas 2013, Site Actions, Site Settings, and then I'm going to come back here to the title, description, and icon. Oh, sorry, wrong thing. Just making sure you're with me still. And I'm going to look at the top link bar. I'm going to go back to the Home tab. I'm simply going to drop my address in there. And now when somebody presses Home, guess what? Do you see how that is? Like, it's amazing. But you know what, everyone? There's something that I teach. I'm a military person by trade. And one of the things that I always tell everybody that I work with and the group at work, I have huge dev teams all over the world as well, and we all use SharePoint. I tell them you need a clear, concise plan. And always don't go crazy. There's so many things you can do. Clear, concise, and simple. Those are the 3 words that you can always, always use. If it's clear to other users, it's clear to you, then it's going to work out in your favor. But people get all excited, and they're not sure why this happened, and they start building other libraries. They don't know where it went. And I'm showing this, like in 51 minutes that we've been together, you can clearly see, wow, I got to think. Maybe I better write some stuff out. What is it that I want to try to do? Where do I start? What's the plan? What am I trying to get my users to see? And so on. So there's just so much. Okay, everyone? So I'm hoping that that's getting through. Okay. So I want to look at the calendar. So under CPC list, I have my calendar. And look at the calendar that you have. Oh, a contextual tab has opened up for the calendar. So I can place events. So if I want to place an event in the Events tab, I've got different groups. So the new event, okay, so I didn't have to hit the arrow. I could have just pressed the icon. And I could say I have a new event. So I'm going to put here title. I'm going to say Christmas party. And I'm going to look how difficult this is. Oh, gosh, I don't know what I'm going to do. And then I say, okay, yeah, December 20th. And it starts at 6 p.m. And I'd love to say that it's a 24-hour party, but of course that's not going to happen. And so we'll say that it ends at 11. And then we'll just say company Christmas party. And even the category you have. So holiday, get-together. And I can say, is it the event? Is it a repeating event? And I'll just say we're good. But look at all the things you have. I can save down here. I can save up here. So I'm going to save. And now you don't see anything here because we're in the month of November. If I go to December, there you go. There's the Christmas party. Now, the beautiful thing about this is there's also a calendar tab in the contextual tab. Notice I keep saying the word contextual. It's because if you ever have to search online for anything in SharePoint, they will use those formal words. And you'll be like, what the heck is a contextual tab? Oh, gosh, Donna drilled it into me in a 90-minute presentation. I get it. I'll never forget it again. So here's you go into calendar and watch the cool stuff I can do. I can look at a day view, a week view, a month view. I can expand all. I can collapse all. I can have other calendars here, so I can make other calendars, like Game of Thrones is going to premiere in January. I definitely don't want to miss that. So I got a calendar of all the episodes and what happens and how'd the Red Wedding go. And if none of you watched Game of Thrones and you don't know what I'm talking about, we could change the way you view stuff. Email a link, so I can email a link to this calendar. Now this is great. If you have no life whatsoever, or there's somebody that's quite annoying at work, you can make it so everything that anybody does here is alerted. So you can create an alert and send it through short message service, SMS, a text message, and they always constantly, oh, somebody made a thing in the calendar. Oh, it's kind of fun, especially around April Fools. So the other thing we can do, which is interesting, is everything that's here in SharePoint, you can connect to Microsoft Office. So there's a connect and export. I can connect this to Outlook. Now, I'm sure it's not going to work because I don't think I have anything really. So let's see if it's going to work with virtual. We'll just see what happens. Oh, this is good. All right. Oh, my Lord, this is awesome. Okay, so the first thing we have here, Microsoft Outlook, it gives you, it says, hey, are you sure you want to do this? I say, absolutely. It's not my computer. Yes. I'm just kidding. Now, watch with this, everyone. This is so amazing. So you notice here, this is your Outlook calendar. But this, everyone, just like if you logged on to someone else's calendar at work, well, now you have here. So I can go and say, I want a month schedule. This is the SharePoint one. And I can say, I want to go to December. Oh, there's something here. Okay? Now, it doesn't mean prices. I don't have enough information there. But I can actually see, like if I wanted to expand this, or I just want to see one at a time, I could go and turn off that guy, and then I can clearly see that this is Christmas party. So that's kind of awesome. And I really love that. Now, remember what my site was called? My site was called Training Site. So that's how I know this calendar belongs to SharePoint site. It's called Training Site. Also, when you put your mouse over it, look, lets you know, oh, it is SharePoint, the URL that's attached to it. So pretty cool, the stuff you can do. I can also go and add an event through here if I want. So if I say I have a new appointment, so here, everybody, just so you know, let's say I don't like Christmas shopping, but I do everything online, which would be location, let's say, that's what I like. And we'll say it's an all-day event. And then we go, and then just say budget. Okay, so now I'm going to save and close. Now notice that it's here. Okay, everyone, see that? I'm going to close. I'm going to just close down not my SharePoint. I'm going to close down my Outlook. And now you should be saying, but Donna, how come it doesn't show up here? Remember, you're in a browser. I have to refresh, and then so that it'll show up in the calendar. Remember, you're a browser. It's not like a Microsoft Word document where as you do stuff, it refreshes. So I did an F5. F5 is to refresh. I can do this little button up here, refresh. and then it shows. But the beauty I wanted to show you is how you connect with Office outside of SharePoint, but they still talk together. And we can do that with documents as well, which is really kind of awesome. All right, so I say awesome and cool a lot. Okay, now the next thing I can do is if I don't want this calendar for whatever reason, at the end is the settings, and I can come in here to list settings, and I can delete the list. Again, always look here and say, what is it that you're trying to do? Because you don't want to delete what you shouldn't delete. And if you have a good network team, they're not going to let you delete anyway. So like I said, we're a secret cleared facility, so we can't delete anything in our office. Okay, I'm going to go back to calendar, and I just want to show you again that another thing I can do is there's permissions, which are really cool. Maybe I have a group of 20 people, and everybody has access to this, but I don't want them to see this particular calendar. They can see all the other calendars. I don't want them to see this one. Well, look at this. There's actually permissions, and look, the permissions will be for the calendar, okay? So that's what's really kind of interesting. And this is we can't really go in a ton of depth on this because we don't have enough time, and this is why we spend a lot of time on permissions. But when you're setting up your permissions, there's permissions for the whole site. You can set up permissions for a library, even though you have a whole bunch of people attached, but you say, wait a minute, these 5 people can only have access to this library. Well, we can go into the library and we can set the permissions for those libraries. So like shared documents, for example, for the library, I can set permissions just for that library. So if I say that that everyone that has access to the site, but I only want 5 individual people to have access to this, I can change the permissions. So everybody will see everything except for this one library where only those 5 people would see it. So there's a lot of cool things that you can do, okay? Also, something that's also neat, we don't have an example, which is too bad, but if I had a Word document that I could add, let's just see if we can find something. Yeah, it's going to take forever. Okay, so if I was able to upload a document, I could also make it, everyone, that they have, no documents, it's in here. It's not really a document. Okay, we'll steal it anyway. Okay, I'll just say open. Let's see. Yeah, of course. Okay, thanks. Okay, so that's not going to work. But let's say I had a document. Everybody has access to this library, but this particular document, I don't want anybody to see except for me and someone else. I can even put permissions on that one document in SharePoint, and that is just amazing. So there's just so many things that you can do. It's truly collaborative. I can't even keep going. It's just crazy. Okay, let's do something wrong. So yes, you can upload. So I apologize if I say your name wrong. So we have a question from Marcelli Federico, and they are asking, can you upload a PowerPoint document 2007 and up to this as well? Absolutely, Marcelli. You can upload any document. It doesn't even have to be a Microsoft product. It's a database that's housing information for you. It's very, very cool. Okay. So, and actually, one thing, Marcelli, there's also a PowerPoint library that you could have all PowerPoint just in that library, and then people could view it. It has a built-in viewer right into the SharePoint library. I hope that answered your question. Okay. All right. So, I want to do something wrong. So the Christmas 2013. So this is the little social. See the little excitement here? Okay, let's see. Samantha has a question. All right. When you do a save or a save and continue, is it the same as checking out and checking in? Absolutely not, Samantha. So when you check in, that means you are putting the document into the library and allowing anyone else to work within that document that's now been checked in. When you check it out, it means that only the person that checked out that document can work on that document. No one else can. If they try to work on that document, they will be told that the user, or Donna Leahy is the one that's working with this document, and so it is checked out right now. Now, when you've checked out a document, because I don't have an example to show you, it's frustrating, but it's okay. So if you have a document and you've made it so that it can be checked out, and then you check it out, when you go to save the document after you've made some changes, your Office product knows that you went and got this from SharePoint, and it will say, hey, Samantha, do you want to check this in now? So if you agree to check it in, it will naturally check it back into SharePoint, update the last document you have, and then someone else can work with it. When you're in SharePoint and you do a save or a save and continue, or in our case, we don't call the word continue, it's called save, and I think it's and keep editing, then yeah, that's not the same thing. Okay? Does that help you, Samantha? I hope it does. Okay? All right. So let's look at this. Awesome. Thank you, Samantha. Okay. So right here, the Christmas 2013, look how exciting this picture is that Microsoft gave you. And look at the different look. So I just want to show you this again. Training site, see how it's nicely broken down, all this stuff. I go to Christmas 2013. All right. But remember what I picked. I picked a social meeting workspace. So I can put all sorts of attendees. I can manage attendees. I can add some names and so on. And again, because we're using a virtual, you're not going to get a whole bunch of stuff. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this whole site and say, oh, you know, Christmas is over. We're back into January, and here we go. So I want to go into site actions, because everyone, this is in fact a site. So you'll notice there's nothing here. I can edit the page, definitely can change the way this looks and feels. And oh, that's another thing. Everything you do in 2010 is also created mobile. It's the old ones, the 2007, mobile was not on as a default, but in 2010 and up, they're all on by default. Now, in here, I'm not sure if this will work. So let me just grab it. And I'm just going to get rid of that. But, no. All right, that was very exciting. Thank you very much for your help. Let's see. Nope. So we're not going to be able to see that, which is fine. Okay, so let's fix that and go back. But anyway, when you do, you just take the name of what it is, and then you put the letter M, and then it shows you a mobile version of your SharePoint. And that's on by default. Now, a lot of companies are not utilizing that feature, and they're unaware that as you've been working, you've been making a mobile site as well, which is really neat. And we can actually go back and make it even more unique. But the beauty, especially 2013 and 2010, it doesn't matter if the device is Android or BlackBerry and different things like that. It's mobile, so it'll show, it falls within the context of the W3 setup, which has the standard for mobility. Okay? All right. So let me go back to what I was doing. So yeah, so edit mobile page, so you can make it, or you can edit this so it looks different on mobile, but we're going to just see. Okay, so I want to delete this, so I just want to show you there's no contextual tab and settings and system settings. I'm going to go to Site Actions. I'm going to go to Site Settings, and then right here, under Site Actions, I'm going to delete this site. You see that, everyone? So I'm going to delete this site, and I'm going to press Delete. And it says, hey, are you sure? Now, also, make sure you're in the right spot. You're not deleting the main site. So I say, oh, 8. And now it lets me know and says, it has been deleted. Now, this little X, sometimes people go, oh, my God, I did something wrong. No, you didn't. It's Microsoft's way of saying, hey, by the way, you have deleted this site. So now I go back, and you'll see that it's gone. But is it truly gone? Let's go look at the recycle bin. Ah, darn it. It is truly gone. So let's go and look at Site Pages. We're going to go create a library. And I'm going to create a library, document library. And I'm going to just filter out my library. I'm going to say, hey, my document library. I'm going to call it Donna's Christmas List. And I'm not a newbie, so I'm just going to create, but all of you are newbies, so you can always pick more options. So I'm just going to create, and then I'm going to say, you know what, I don't want this library. I made a mistake. Go in the contextual tab, go to library settings, and now watch what this says. See, this looks different now, everyone, because this has to do with the library. So there's general settings. Maybe I should have called it Donna's Christmas List. I can come in here. I can undo the quick launch and so on. I can make it so that anytime somebody adds to the library, it has a version. I can delete the document library. Now, if we go to the recycle bin, oh, look, it's really not fully deleted. These items will remain here. Now, it's usually about 30 days, and unless your network administrator has changed it, but this will remain here in your recycle bin. And you say, oh, you know, I didn't want to delete that. I made a mistake. So you'd select it, You'd restore the selection. Says, are you sure? Absolutely. I hit OK. Oh no, everybody, it's not there. What am I going to do? Well, the one thing it doesn't remember was where you had it. Was it on top link? Was it on the quick launch? It's too much. It just can't handle it. So again, you say, remember you have 3 best friends. You've got site actions, not going to help you. And you've got site settings, that's not going to help you. But then you've got this 3rd best friend, all site content. So now, oh, look at that. There's Donna's Christmas list. So I select it, got my contextual tab, library tab, library settings, and then title, description, navigation, change it from no, go to yes, and save. Ah, and there it is again. How cool is that? That's awesome. But a lot of people don't realize that's there. They'll start recreating. It's quite interesting to me. And, you know, if Linda or Chocolate Bread's involved, I'll give them the answer pretty well quickly. If it's not, then I'll wait a little bit and then give the answer. But there you go. It's a little joke. All right. Obviously, I can't hear if you laugh. So that's why. Can't hear anything. Okay. So let's just see some of the other things that we can talk about. All right. Another thing is, I'm just going to go into the shared documents, even though I don't have anything that's there to show you. I just want to show this. Okay, yeah, so we have a question from Olympia, and she says, what advantage is there to saving branch office documents in SharePoint versus a shared drive? So the advantage is a shared drive is something that's locally to your system. When you save it in SharePoint, Olympia, this is what I was just actually going to talk about right now, you can access it from anywhere. Like, I'm going on vacation on Saturday. I'm going to be on a beautiful sandy beach. But my boss, of course, I'm military, so they gave me a wonderful project that I still work on. I'm going to be on the beach, and I'm going to have my satellite connection, and I'm going to not go into the office to share a drive. I can just go to my SharePoint location and get access to the documents I need. Okay? And Karen, we're going to cover the search in just a moment. Okay? All right. So that's what I wanted to talk about. I want to show you something that's kind of interesting. You're very welcome, Cynthia. So now I'm going to show you some little tricks here. So I don't have any documents, which is unfortunate. And I can actually connect, though, to Outlook, which is really, really interesting. I wish, oh, Lord, I wish I had a document that I could put up here. But if I was in Outlook, if I said, you know what, there's a whole bunch of stuff here. I need to go to a meeting. I need to have it. They're not going to have internet connection. And my Outlook will still open up, even though it won't connect to a server or anything. I can still see all the documents that are there. Then I could have downloaded to Outlook. And then it would say, hey, do you want this stuff, this library to go there? I'll say, yeah, absolutely. And then it's going to say, do you want this document library to connect to Outlook? I'm going to say, absolutely. And look what just happened. Do you see on my Outlook menu? I'm just going to scroll down a little bit. So it's got my SharePoint lists, and then it's got the training site and the name of the library. And if there were any documents there, I would actually be able to visibly see it. And Outlook, it actually has Microsoft Word built in. It's got Excel, all those things. Now, if you have the product on your system and you want to edit, you would double-click, would open that product that you can view right in Outlook, which is quite awesome. Okay, really, really cool. Let's see. All right, so that's one thing, too, as well, Olympia, when you talk about sharing documents and different things, too. If I go to a meeting or you're on a bus, you want to work on something, we can also do things offline, especially we had an earlier question from Samantha where it was about the checking in, checking out. I could be checking out a document. I'm on a train for 4 hours and working on it. Nobody has access to that document, even though I'm gone. I'm away from the company. Until I check that document on, or if somebody with bigger rights than me says, you know what, let's check it in anyway, then people still don't have access to anything. Ooh, I've got an email. All right, so I'm going, I don't really have any email. So now I'm going to exit out of Outlook. Another thing I can do is I can go and put this into Excel. And also, I'm going to show you something that's pretty cool. A lot of people don't realize this is here. This is open with Explorer. When you guys make mistakes, this is going to be the bestest friend you have ever met in life. You will never let your boss know this. You can let him say, oh, sir, it took me weeks, days to move this from this. But because we have this guy, it's actually going to open up the location of where your documents are. And I'll just wait to see if it's going to do it for us. Because this is a virtual Composo site on Microsoft. I'm not sure if it will, but you can see the little thing that's letting us know that we got to wait forever. So we'll just see if it works. But it's very, very cool. Trust me on this. Okay, good. So it opens like this. Watch this in a minute when it decides to. There we go. So look at this, everybody. This is just so awesome. So see, it's got the URL for the shared documents, but now I have a folder that's empty. Now, if there happen to be, stuff in this computer, let's just see if we can find something. Ooh, okay, I'm going to take this. I'm going to copy, and then I'm going to go back to my SharePoint, and you know what I do? I'm going to just cheat, open up Explorer, and we'll just wait. But the cool thing is what it's going to do, it's going to open up, and it's going to let me go in there and work underneath the covers, but it's going to show up in SharePoint. So people will say, oh, you know what, I know we put all these directories here, and there's 5,000 documents. Do you mind taking these documents and make some different libraries and blah, blah, blah. And you could say, it's going to take you some time, but it's not going to take you time if you're using this, not like you thought. Okay, so does one open now? Okay, there it is. Okay, so let's see if it'll let me do that. Is open with Windows Explorer more secure in 2010? Yeah, that's right. Tanya, absolutely. You are right about that one. 2003? Ugh. So, I was overseas when we were doing that, 2003. Oh, my Lord. You have to worry about everything with permission. Now, remember, it's only in the folder as long as you are logged into SharePoint. You would be able to see that. So, okay, look at this, everybody. So now it's doing something. So it's copying it. Okay. So we'll just let it do its stuff. So now it's using the Explorer. I'm going to close this. Oh, Donna, where's my stuff? Remember, refresh. F5 or refresh. Ah, look at that. See that, everyone? So I can move this different ways. Like if I wanted to move it to Donna's Christmas list, for example, watch what I could do. I could easily grab this URL. I'm going to copy it. This is the long way, just so you know. But if you have nothing to do, then you should do it this way. So if I have here, you're going to see a little arrow that shows up when I touch it. See, arrow's gone, arrow's there, arrow's gone, arrow's there. So I touch the arrow, and now I'm going to send to other location. I'm going to simply put in the address of the other one that I want, say OK. Now this is what I want you to show. This is slow, Maria, because we're on a virtual site. In real life, it wouldn't be this slow. We're actually logged into Microsoft's website and we're virtual. Yeah. In real life, Maria, trust me, we're military. We couldn't wait this long. Okay. So now, everyone, I just moved it from this library to another. I didn't actually move it like the word moved. I simply copied it. So if I come over to Donna's Christmas list. Oh, look at that, everyone. Okay, see that? So if this is here, I can now get rid of it if I want it here, or I could open up that File Explorer, and I could have actually cut and paste. I could have said, no, I want it moved from here, and then I want it pasted over here. Okay? So don't worry, Samantha, I'll get back to you, not to worry. Okay, so I want to show you there's different ways, but the only bad news, everybody, you got to do this one at a time. Imagine if you had 500. Even if you had 500, you have to do them one at a time, and that can take a long time. Hence, this guy will become your very best friend. Now, you don't share it with anybody. You keep it on the down low, and you let them know. You say, oh, yeah, sir, it's going to take me weeks to get this done. And, you know, so they know it's quick to do stuff. You're never going to get your real work done. Everything's going to come and inundate you all the time. And you're a subject matter expert. You make yourself indispensable. They're not telling everybody all your little secrets. Okay, so let's take on some questions. So, okay, so Tanya said, is Open with Windows Explorer more secure in 2010? In 2003, you were able to navigate the folders through Windows Explorer, even though you did not have permission to SharePoint. So absolutely, that is totally changed in 2010, and also even the SharePoint above 2010. The Windows Explorer is literally just for that SharePoint. You saw that when I moved away from it, I was closed out of it. I'd have to go back and open it up again because I need to download the workspace if I wanted to do that. And that's where the security issue handles. A lot of companies do not let they do not let anyone do this. See this, everyone sync to SharePoint workspace, because that can actually cause a security breach. And because of that, most companies, especially federal government, provincial government, they do not allow any of their employees to sync to SharePoint Workspace. What that does is create a local copy of SharePoint, but on their desktop, like on their system, okay? So it is secure, but as long as you go through, you stay through the SharePoint, okay? Samantha's question, further clarification, if the site is checked in and changes are made without checking it out and subsequently saved, does it save it to the site? Okay, so what you can do, Samantha, so that you want to make sure that there's no problems, when you're setting up your library, you can version the library. You can make it that anything that goes in the library must adhere to being checked in and checked out, because if it's checked in, if they've saved it, it gets checked in. If they didn't save it and they check in, then it takes whatever it was. If they didn't save the document, they just closed and said whatever. So, yeah, so absolutely. So let's just look at Donna's Christmas list for a moment. So right now, if I wanted to take this document out, let's look at this. So I can check it out, but that means you're leaving it up to me. I don't let my users think at all. I don't want my users to think. I want them just to do their work. They're not going to say, oh, you know what, I should do the right thing and I should check this out. Absolutely not. They're not going to do that. So I trust nothing. So I make sure that everything's done a certain way. Oh, and here, everyone, this is something before I just do that. There is manage permissions. Do you see this? What this does is I can make it so this document has different permissions than the rest of everybody. So I might have a document that says, Donna's salary increase. I don't want anybody to read that. So I can manage the permissions for this one document. That is very cool. And a lot of people don't realize that SharePoint has the power to do that, which is really quite awesome. Okay, so back to Samantha. So Samantha, right here, nobody's going to do the right thing. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't mean they're doing it purposefully either. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to make some changes to this library. So in the contextual tab, now here's the two tabs. Document has everything to do with this, but library has to do with everything about the library. So I go into library settings and look at all of the stuff I have, okay? In the title, description, and navigation, it's not going to give me anything. But then in the versioning settings, and we don't have a lot of time to go through everything, but look at the very bottom. Require checkout. Specify whether users must check out documents before making changes in this document library. You have it defaulted to no. You're going to say yes. That means that they're not going to know. They're going to hit a document, and without realizing, it's going to have to be checked out. So I'm going to say okay. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to touch the document that says, you are about to open this document. Now, it'll say if you want it read-only. If it's read-only, then it's going to be read-only. But if they have it where it's like Microsoft Word and they'll say enable editing, then it's going to do something cool. So I could say, check out and edit. So I'll say okay. So we'll see if everything works for this. Let's just see. Run pro rules. Do me proud. Hello? So, we got to wait. And again, like Maria was asking the question later before, that's just again, Maria, because of the virtual website. Okay, so here we are. Oh, look at this work that's here. Let me see. Nothing? Not responding? Okay. Thanks very much. Okay, there we go. So, okay. So now I'm going to close it. Uh-oh. Says, do you want to save changes? I said save. And then, if I say, oh, sorry, it's doing its thing. I'm impatient. I'm half Irish, so we're very impatient people. So let's just see. Olympia. So more than one person cannot check out a document at the same time. That is correct. And you know what else, Olympia, which is great about this? So when I've checked this out, they could only get the read-only version. I wish we could have two computers you could see it. It's absolutely amazing. I always show my group. I have my group, so I edit everything, and I check it out, and I tell them all to go and hit it. And they're like, oh, look, Don, I can open it. I said, yeah, no, try typing something. And they cannot do it. So it really freaks them out. I love that part. Okay, so now this has been checked in. If it was checked out, you would have seen a little thing here that looks like it's got checked out. So that's just to show them, Samantha, if I had more than one system as well, you'd be able to see it more. So it's really very, very capable. And if you were to open this, it would show all the changes I have. You'll notice that my Notepad document, it's closed. It's not there anymore. Okay? All right, let's see other things. I just want to show you the central administration. Most of you will never have access to this unless you are deemed a central admin person. The central admin, it allows us to create sites. So if you're like Department of National Defense or Department of Defense for the United States, you can say, okay, Donna, we have a group of users. Please go and create a site. So I create a site collection. I can give it a name. So we'll call this one Olympia. Okay? And then I'm not going to put a description. And then in real life, if we had a real SharePoint server that we could really play with, you have all sorts of different ideas. So I'm going to just put here, I'm going to say Olympia. Now, this isn't a real address. This is a SharePoint address. And then we have different kinds of sites. You have team site, blank site, document workspace, blogs, group work sites, and video process repository. You've got all sorts of other things. But usually it is default. Now, if I know who Olympia's username was, I could put it in there. But I'm gonna just type Olympia's name. And when I go to press thing, it's going to say, who the heck's Olympia? We don't know. And Fab 40 templates for 2010. There's lots of templates out there, not necessarily a Fab 40, but you would be amazed at the templates you can create, Tanya, that are very easy, and it's really cheap to do a template. So there are lots of different types of SharePoint templates, and I'll let you know, people like to make money. So different kinds of businesses, they will have created a template based on things they've used, but then they're going to sell it to you. So I hope that helps you. Okay? So I'm just going to put in administrator, and then I'm going to press a little check mark, and of course I'm going to exist. And then the username will also be, you usually put like somebody else. Like, you know how your computer, like if you happen to forget your password and stuff, the administrator will come and then go. Oh, you know, Saran's asked an amazing question. Changes are made to the original document. How are these changes tracked if multiple users edit the document? Saran. So in your actual Microsoft Office product, if they did it in Microsoft Word, there's a track changes that's available in the Office 2010 ribbon. And it will literally show from the moment that everything was used how all the different changes. You can actually go back, Saran, in Word 2010 and go back to the two previous versions. It's pretty cool. Like again, I wish we could just hang out all day together. I can show you so many things. So I hope that helps you a little bit. Okay, so let's see. So there, I'm going to just say okay, and then watch this magic, everybody. This is so when your network admin tells you it's going to take days and weeks to put this together, they lie. Okay. But you know, they're like us, right? We want to be a subject matter expert in our own right. We don't want everybody to know our secrets, and hopefully they have other things to do they're doing. But there we go. So now this site has been created, and depending on the username and password that's been set up, then that team site would be there. Okay? And there's lots of things that you have. There's monitoring for the health. There's a health analyzer here, which is really cool. There's the review problems and solutions, and it's going to take time again. Just remember, this is just because all these things are just here. Wait. It's virtual, it's going through Microsoft, maybe millions of people are on the same site at the same time, who knows. So now it's got all sorts of different things. It's got security, performance, configuration, availability. So there's lots of things that are there to help. And look, the contextual tab is shown up as well. There's lists and all sorts of things that they can do. There's application. Here, let's look at general application settings. Remember I told you that when you have SharePoint at work and for whatever reason you don't have SharePoint Designer? That's because somebody here went in and did this. Watch this, everybody. So, enable SharePoint Designer? No. So somebody just unchecked that box, and that's why you don't have the free version of SharePoint that you could easily use if you were here. Like SharePoint, watch this, Site Actions, and see, Edit in SharePoint Designer. But if I go and I say, enable SharePoint Designer, and I've taken the checkbox off, and then I say OK, it's not going to let me. I'm not going to see that there anymore. So I won't even see it, and I'm like, I'm sad. Also, they can turn this off, which most companies do, because there has been some tests about security breaches with the sync to SharePoint Workspace, mostly for documents. In my world, they're protected documents. They're very sensitive documents. So we don't allow anybody USB keys. We don't allow people to do CDs or copies or anything like that. They don't have access to Google Mail or Yahoo Mail. You know, everything's monitored. So one of these things is not to be able to take sensitive documents and be able to save it on somebody's personal system at work. So that's the reason that a lot of companies have this disengaged. Okay? So you can just see here, I'm just going to leave that alone, but there's so many different things that are available to you as well. Now, for those of you that are geeks, and if you don't know the difference between a geek and a nerd is somebody that thinks about it, geeks get it done. So, and actually Maria has a great question. She says, is there any reminder that can be set to notify the designer if he has a page checked out since X amount of days? Maria, that can be done by your SharePoint central admin people, but they probably won't do that. What you will do is you'll be able to see that this person has had that document checked out, and you can check it back in, or you can send through the email system that's set up here. So I just want to show you. If you have all your users, there's emails. You say, hey, bud, what's going on here? You have this document for a while. I need it. One of the things to help you with that, Maria, is called a workflow. And that is this thing here, which is very cool. The workflow will actually send the other people that are attached to the workflow. The Donna Leahy is still using this document, and she hasn't sent it through the process. So that will send reminders on a continuous basis. That's a really good feature of SharePoint 2010. So here's the example of the document being checked out. You see, everyone? It's got the little green arrow. That means that this document is checked out. Okay? For those of you, like I was saying, geeks and nerds, and I didn't get to finish, for those that are true programmers, they say, oh, you know, this is too lame and easy. My brain's going to turn to mush. I love to code. I've got to code. I've got so much time on my hands. I just need to code. You can code. So you can actually open up Visual Studio and 2012, whatever version of Visual Studio that's out there now, for 2013, 2010 supporting, you can open up Visual Studio and you can create your web parts. You can code everything from scratch. You literally, without realizing when you create all these things, you actually coded. You entered the world of Star Wars. You became a geek. So there's so many different things that you can do with SharePoint. And we're coming down to the last 2 minutes of our 90 minutes discussion, and we can take some Q&A if you guys like. But it's really quite lovely and it's amazing. I hope that you've learned a lot by seeing everything here today. We didn't have a lot of time. I mean, I love this stuff. We could keep talking forever. And there's just so many different things. Web parts. Let me just show you this web part for a moment, because I didn't show you that. That's something I think is really cool. So I'm just going to go to the training site again, and I want to just show you. If you wanted to, I have this page. I'm going to edit the page, and I just don't like these people. I'm just going to get rid of them. I'm just tired of seeing them. I've been seeing them for over 10 years, and I just don't like the fact they have an age. So now I'm going to come here. I can come into the insert and look at the things that I can do. I can insert web parts. I can insert, so I'm just, see my mouse is here. I'm going to insert a web part, and I just want you to know all of these are web parts. They're the pieces that make up this web page, okay? So I'm going to touch web part, and look at the web parts. They're all categorized. Now, look at theirs. Look, Donna's Christmas list is there. So I can come here and say, you know what? Out of lists and libraries, I want the calendar to show up. And I'm going to just say add. Now watch what happens. There's my calendar. It just showed up, okay? And I can say, you know what? Let's collapse that calendar so people can see it if they want to see it. And they could look at full if they want. I can move the calendar if I wanted to. Remember, as long as I'm in here and I have the little hand, I can say, you know, I want the calendar to show up there, you know, and then it moves. You see that, everyone? Now, it's not the little bar, like when people say, they go, oh, well, I think it should have been this little cross. No, it's the hand, but it doesn't really let you know. So it gives you a little tooltip, but you don't realize that you could actually move the calendar. And then I'm just going to save it. And that's how you add a web part to your existing page. And if you like color, you can be crazy and start adding colors and different things. You can change, you can put your own personal logo, your company logo to have all of this. You can decide if these want to be displayed to users. Maybe it's just for them to look at documents and stuff. They shouldn't be changing or anything. Remember, at the beginning, when you're creating a SharePoint site for someone, you're actually designing. You're designing so that everybody else can utilize this and work with this in a collaborative way effectively towards your business. Okay? I want to say thank you very much for taking the time. I hope I was trying to get a lot of stuff in there. There's still more I could talk about forever. So please feel free if you want to ask me any questions, and you're more than welcome to reach out to me through CTC if you like, and I'd be happy to help out. So you're very welcome, Maria. And honestly, if there's anybody that has a question, please feel free. You can hang out. So, okay, so this is great. So we're getting some really good questions here. So Tanya, asks, what is the advantage of creating a subsite versus a page? Okay, Tanya, so subsite, it's actually not about a page. A page, when you create a page in SharePoint, you are actually creating a wiki page, okay? So if I come here and I say new page, so here it is, I'm going to call it Tanya or Tanya, all right? So I'll say create. So I will now decide how the layout should look. Maybe I want it to look like this. I'll decide what goes on this page. It's the wikis are, just so you know. Will the session be available offline? I don't know, Maria. That would have to be Alex. I hope he's still on. He could tell you. Oh, he's telling me. Okay. All right. So just to give you a little bit here, so I'm just going to put, like, I can put a heading here. I can put some content here. So this is not a subsite, Tanya, okay? So I want you to make sure. A subsite replaces folders within folders. So for example, let's say I have a folder called Archives. I don't want to have Archives, or maybe I have something called, I don't know, something titled, and inside it has a folder called Archives. And then in Archives, it has a folder called Vacation, and then in it has a folder and folder. You don't want to do stuff like that. So, oh, you're welcome, Rick. So what we want to do is you want to do a subsite that kind of mimics a directory, which is very cool. And that really goes into the beginning planning stages. And please, all of you remember, folders within folders within folders, very, very bad. Even though you can do it, doesn't mean you should, okay? And actually, we had a question about the search. I didn't cover that, so just give me 2 seconds. So here, if you want to search, it's just like almost like anything. So I could just say, I want to find a text file or something that has, you know, the letter T in it. And if I just press this guy, it's going to search everything that I have within SharePoint and give it to me. But there's also different kinds of searches. If you have fast search, if there's metadata where you've described something, you can add the word Tanya to something that has nothing to do with Tanya, but maybe it's Tanya something that you worked on, then what happens is that document will show up. So the search can be easily found this way. You'll notice that there's no search here. It is done through this venue. There's also help that's available for you at all times. And yeah, okay, let's keep going. So we've got Tanya, no, yes, Tanya was good. And Tanya, does that help you about the subsite versus the page? So we'll just wait when she answers. Okay, so we're going to just go on to another question. Okay, so Olympia says she's created a library of shared documents for a branch. Does she also have to create a site page for her users? No, like depend. If you have users that you want to go to that site, then no, the site's already created. But if you want something that's separate, so there you go for the gentleman that was asking, or the person that was asking about searching. I just wanted to show you. It takes a little bit, but you can actually say, I want to look on this site, or if you have other SharePoint sites, you can do that. If there were refinements, if you had a whole bunch of documents, you could say, oh, I only want to look at Word documents, I want to look at PPTX documents, and so on. You could actually refine the search. Okay. Okay. So creating a site page for your users. So when you have something, so Olympia, for you it's going to be yes, because I don't know if I want my users to see what my branch uses. True. So you might have to create different sites depending. Like HR shouldn't be seeing, you know, what programmers do. Programmers shouldn't go and see what the finance department does. So depending on who your users are, sites would be created that way. Now you can give them permission to see that existing library that the branch sees, or like I showed you very quickly, we could make a document that only has permissions for certain users. Okay? All right, let's see. Can you show us how Access works with SharePoint? Okay, so Paul, for SharePoint, so I'm just going to go back to my training site. So I can't show the access per se here because I don't have access to the Composer website underneath the covers. The SharePoint site can work with Access 2010. One of my military clients in Montreal, they only use Access. So everything's saved in an Access database, but it's a SharePoint front end. And in Access 2010, which I don't have available here, you'll notice in all of Office 2010 products, there is a SharePoint. If SharePoint's on your system, there is a SharePoint availability group that allows you to communicate with Access right through SharePoint. But just to give you something, I'll give you what you could have with SharePoint. It's not going to be as exciting for you, but I'm just going to look at documents. So you can, let's see, the library. So here's your excitement. Not much fun, Paul, but this is exciting will be for today. This is the standard view, but here's your access view if you want to see it. So, ooh, that's not good. Don't do that. Oh no, Lord have mercy. So something's happened where they have shut me out. That's not very nice. So let us go back. Oh, Lord. Oh. Yep, they have taken me out. Okay, so that wasn't very good. I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe only allowed for a certain amount of time. So not sure what's going on. Oh, we're not on internet. Okay. Can you guys still hear me? So the WebEx?
Yes, I can hear.
Okay, good. So unfortunately, something's happened with the SharePoint site. It's the internet's off on that. So Paul, I was going to show you something exciting when you get the access view, but definitely you can easily see how access works with SharePoint. Nita, we did not talk about lists. I would like to know if it's possible to create lists of lists in SharePoint. Absolutely. So the calendar actually falls under lists. Okay, so there's so many things that fall under lists. Unfortunately, I can't show you, but there are lots of them. Here, I'll give you some examples for the list. You've got the calendar, and then you've got the announcements. They fall under lists as well. So there's just so many different things that are there. They just Microsoft categorizes them differently. So let's see. So for some lists, you have custom lists. There's different communication lists, the discussion boards, and so on. Okay. Wiki page, Marcelli. A wiki page is like Wikipedia. It's like it's where you document all your processes, but not really like Wikipedia. So a wiki page is something that's created online for you that other people can have access to. So, for example, if you are heading out for vacation and you have somebody going to take over what you're using, you don't want to have to sit down with that person and have to explain what everything is. You might want to say, oh, here, all our processes are there. So, so basically, for the wiki, it is a type of library that's usually on internet, and it just gives web-accessible living documents that need to be edited frequently. But I use wikis for my programmers. I'm like, this is the methods we're going to use. These are the naming conventions and all sorts of other stuff. Okay? I hope that helps you, Marcella. Nita, for example, we have 3 projects whose attributes are saved in lists. Then we want to create a list of all of these projects. Yeah, absolutely, Nita. You can do that easily. Now, it depends on what kind of attributes, what the projects are, because they might not be a list like in what you think a list is. It could be something that's housed under a library of some sort, but it can be definitely housed under a list. Okay? Can we send you handouts of the presentation? Again, I'm not sure, so I have my own handouts. I definitely would do that for you. So I'm easily reachable. You can reach me through CTC. My first name is Donna, and my last name is Leahy, in case you're wondering. I don't have a CTC email, but you can connect with me through CTC, and they'll reach me. So I don't know if you can see that, but I'll just have you my name so you have it. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I know, Mary. I can't see anything either, so I'm glad that you can see me. So you can hear me at least. And SharePoint sites, definitely. So my youngest son, Matthew, is partially blind, and you can definitely make a SharePoint site that follows the WCAG 2.0, and definitely SharePoint. Now, again, the network people have to ensure that that capability is on, and that was through the central administration. So I'm a very, very strong proponent of disabilities. I also work a lot with senior citizens, and so big thing for us, and especially the military. A lot of our servicemen and women come back, and we also make sure that everything's accessible for them. So we're very strong about that. I hope that helps. So if you can't see my typed name, my first name is Donna. I was named after a very depressing song, Oh Donna. So D-O-N-N-A, and then my last name is Leahy, L-A-H-E-Y. Okay, my mother's from Ireland, my dad's from Trinidad and Tobago. First song I ever heard when I came to Canada, and hence I got that sad name. My whole life has been Oh Donna. All right, so I'm not sure if anybody has. If you do, please feel free. No, thank you, Saran. I appreciate it. And thank you so much to everybody that took their time, of their personal time to listen to me. I hope that you enjoyed it. And please, if there's anything you need, we're coming to the end of the session right now. Please put all the questions you have, and they will send all the answers to you by email. All right? Have a great, great day, everybody. And thank you again so much. I really appreciate this. Take care. And Merry Christmas, and I will see you or hear from you.